Well, hello, my friend.
How are you?
I'm good. So good to see you.
You too. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm really excited to do this Sober Spotlight interview with you, especially because a lot of times what's happened is I do a Sober Spotlight interview with someone, and by the end of it, I'm like, oh, we're best friends now. Want to be a sober curator? But you already are one. We already became best friends already,
I
and we
know.
haven't even done this.
I know.
It's so great. It's
It's
so great.
magical.
So just to do a little introduction, could you let our readers know who you are, where they can find you, your sobriety date, just the 411, the norm.
The norm. Well, my
Yeah.
name's Tamar Medford. You can find me in Vancouver, Canada, if you'd like, and on my website, which is www.yoursobernowwhat.com. That just changed. And my sobriety date is June 17th, 2012. So I'm coming up on 10 years. I'm actually going to hit that
Yeah,
long
you
term.
are.
I'm a baby still, but I'm getting there.
You're so close to being an old timer.
So
So
close.
close. And I love that you're only 3 hours to the north of me. We're
Mm-hmm.
just separated by a pesky little border.
Yep.
But I think you're allowed to cross it now. I think I'm allowed to cross it now. So, I do have my Sober 16 coming up. But I think you're out of town for that. But we will figure out a time to meet officially, maybe at the Peeps Arch or something crazy.
That sounds perfect. I'll come down there. I'm due for a road trip.
Yeah, Seattle's great. I mean, actually, downtown Seattle is terrifying right now. There's just like stabbings and shootings all the time. So we won't go downtown, but we'll hang out on the outskirts.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just
Yeah,
join in on the ruckus if we have to.
exactly. If we have to.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna ask a few pretty lighthearted questions. At the Sober Curator, our glass is half full. There's just no booze in it, and we all know all the hard, depressing, all the reasons that we got sober. And yes, we can talk about that for hours. But what I really like to talk about is kind of the funner side, like what happens after recovery, like which is why I love the new name of your new website and your podcast, You're Sober Now What, because that's the space I want to live in. Like
Mm-hmm.
drunkalogs are a dime a dozen, and the details are change a little bit, and some of the stories are funnier than others or more tragic than others. But the good stuff, I think, is really in long-term recovery, and like because we still have problems, we just have really classy problems,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So first question coming out of the gate: favorite non-alcoholic beverage of choice? What's your go-to? What do you love?
I love a good virgin rum and Diet Coke. Diet Coke all the way. I will still pound back 6 of those bad boys in an hour.
Now I have to know if you have your choice of a Diet Coke in a can or a fountain Diet Coke, which one you going for?
I like the fountain.
Yeah, me too. As long as the syrup combination is like right.
There's
Yeah.
something about the fountain drinks that they're
Mm-hmm.
refreshing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the different flavors of Diet Coke? Do you like the cherry Diet Coke, vanilla Diet Coke, Coke Zero? Like, are you just diehard Diet Coke?
I'm not all that picky, but I don't go different flavors. So I'll
Okay.
stick to the Coke Zero. I'm not a Diet Pepsi, Diet Coke snob.
That okay, so that was my next question is if you're somewhere and they're only serving Diet Pepsi and not Diet Coke, what do you do?
I order it.
Okay.
I'll
See,
get what I can
I
get.
can't. I'm
Really?
loyal. I can't do the Diet Pepsi.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
My go-to is ordering a Diet Coke. Like anywhere I go, it's like Diet Pepsi. Okay.
Okay, fine.
I just
See,
want to drink something.
I have to switch. If it's Pepsi products, I have to switch over to what is that, 7 Up or Sprite? I have to switch over to something else. I can't do it. I'm very loyal. Very, very loyal. Okay. What about do you have a quit lit book that was really inspirational to you, either in early recovery or even later on, like a book where it's one where, maybe the corners are dog-eared and you've highlighted and you've read it over and over again? Do you have a book that you just like can't get enough of?
I would say The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown
Ah.
because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm an all in, as you know. We've talked about that before. But
Mhm.
yeah, just being able to be imperfect is sometimes really hard because I just want to be perfect. So that's definitely a rereadable one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Have
Yeah.
you read her newest one?
No, but I heard it's good.
I haven't either, but I have to tell you, I'm so mesmerized by the cover of it, the heart. Like, yes, I am that girl. I will buy a book based off the cover. 100% I will. So I haven't read it yet either, but I've got it downloaded in my audio
Worth
Audible.
it.
Audible. Yeah.
Worth it, I heard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love her. Do you have a piece of advice you would give somebody who's new in recovery now that you've got almost a decade under your belts?
Just seriously take it one day at a time. When I came in, I thought, "Oh my god, I'm going to quit drinking forever." Like that was the first thought, and that was overwhelming. And
Mm-hmm.
someone's like, "Why don't you just slow down, back the truck up. Let's just take it one day at a time." Just there's two actually. It would be that, and the suggestions are given to you for a reason. Don't touch the stove twice because I did that and it's actually hot.
Both times.
Yeah.
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 I had to make some pretty, pretty bad mistakes. So there are suggestions for a reason.
Right. Right. Well, and I can remember in early recovery working with a sponsor and I would question things like, well, why is this a suggestion? It's not in that big blue book. Why is this a suggestion? And she was like, do you want what I have? Then you need to do what I did and stop asking the questions. And I was like, okay. Ooh, okay. What about your career? How has getting sober impacted your career?
It gave me the faith to leave my corporate job.
Ooh.
And yeah, that I think I that was a definite gift from recovery because I didn't have faith before recovery. And so when I kind of hit that time in my recovery where it's like I'm kind of complacent, like the now what, right? Like I've done all this for what? And having the courage to become an entrepreneur and actually be of service full time, it's been so scary. So scary. Like there's times where it's like, because I've never not had a steady income. I had a very good corporate job before I left it.
What were you doing in the corporate world?
I was traveling field sales, so I was going
Okay.
all over North America, and I dealt with boats and stuff, and so it was a lot of fun, and I got paid very well to do it. But that wasn't enough for me, so I became an entrepreneur, and this is what I do now, and it's amazing.
It's working out. Yeah,
I know.
Working out.
Yeah.
Well, and what's that phrase? If you love what you do, you never work a day of your life. Something like that.
Yeah,
it's true.
I still get up. I mean, look at the emails you send me are usually early in the morning when you're going to sleep, and I respond when I'm waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
It's true, you do. I'm like, well, she's someone where if I'm still up at 3:30, I could confidently call, and you would probably answer.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. My clock is just so upside down. I'm just like, the older I get, the more of a night. I'm turning into my grandma Bryson. That's what's happening. I'm just this little night owl that just wants to stay up all night. It's wild. It's wild. What do you do to take time for yourself?
Sometimes I binge watch Netflix.
Are you watching anything in particular right now?
I just finished what is that show that you and Lane are doing? And Just Like That.
Oh, yes.
Love that one. And I like Mom. I started watching that again because
it's cheeky, it's fun.
Yeah.
Plus, it was very, obviously it's been out for a long time now, and they're not even making that series anymore. But it's pretty great for what it was when it came out as a representation of women in recovery. Yeah.
I like doing that stuff.
Okay, so I have to ask, since you watched And Just Like That, how did you feel about Miranda's drinking and then somehow magically just stopping and it was a non-issue? I don't know. How did you feel about all that?
Yeah, I felt they went in that transition from that to her experience with what was her name?
Shay.
Yeah, Shay, that it was kind of like drinking, oh, exploring my sexuality. And there was no, like, it was just like cut off in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that I felt like they had an opportunity that got missed, but it did get picked up for season 2. So they've got a chance. Yes. And just like that, their season 2 is coming. So there's an opportunity to see. I don't know. Lane and I debated this at length because she thinks that Miranda's still acting in selfish behaviors as far as like burning her life down to the ground. Bye, Steve. See you, kid. I'm headed to California with my new love. So I can see a little bit of that self-centeredness to the extreme happening in that.
I feel like she's having a midlife crisis. Like she didn't do
right.
Like someone like me who did a lot of I did a lot of stuff. I don't feel like I would do that now because I don't know. I've done lots of exciting things.
Well, and yes, and I think the thing that perplexed me is she stopped drinking. There was all this buildup leading to it, and then that was it. There was just there were no hard days. She's now just drinking teetotaler wine in Central Park. Like it's just that easy. Then I guess she's not an alcoholic because it wasn't that easy for me at the beginning.
No,
it sucked. Excuse my language. Yeah. Oof. I could talk about TV all day, and I will. So I'm going to get back on track. Okay, so you binge Netflix. Any other ways that you practice self-care?
I've been getting really into meditation lately because I am this A-type personality. Even though I'm somewhat of an introvert, I'm an introvert extrovert. When I'm passionate about something, I go all in, and I will I do too much. I take on too much. And so I've been working to kind of step back a little bit, exercise a little bit more, eat better, and just actually lay down for 10 minutes and meditate. Because it's hard for me to be still. Like I'm thinking, maybe I should do my laundry. Maybe I should, I could create this. I could create that. Like my brain doesn't stop. So that's been a big part of my self-care. And I moved out on my own in August. I'm 46 years old. I've never lived by myself. And I decided to because of what my partner did for a living. And I have to say, I love it. I love being by myself.
Being independent. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can do whatever we want.
I know. I can walk around naked all day if I want.
If you want to.
So awesome.
Yeah.
I'm on Zoom most of the time, so I have to be respectful.
So you're just naked from the waist down.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like right now, neither one of us could be wearing pants. Nobody knows.
Exactly.
Nobody knows. Do you to practice the meditations or anything, are there any apps that you use? How do you stay disciplined or regimented? Because that's my problem is I have all the best intentions and I might get a couple days out of my belt, but then I just fall off and just stop. I don't know. So how do you stay steady, consistent?
So I have a little app called Streaks. Okay. Because I am a very list-oriented person and I have to tick things off that list. So if there's new habits that I develop, I add it to my little Streaks app because you literally push a button and it fills in and it makes you feel special. Like, ooh, I did that. Okay. And so I have Insight Timer, which I use primarily for my meditation. And depending on what I'm trying to focus on, if there's any limiting beliefs that come up, because being an entrepreneur, of course, there are those months where you're like, and I have that financial insecurity, I'll focus on abundance. So, or if I'm feeling insecure, right, I'll focus on, loving myself. So I just kind of put attention into the areas that I feel are off balance.
Have you ever done any streaking with Streaks?
No streaking.
No streaking with Streaks. Okay. Well,
I haven't done streaking for a long time, actually. I used to
get that's the thing about getting sober. You just kind of stop taking your clothes off so freely.
I know. Apparently restaurants don't approve of that. I'm like, what? This is a family restaurant? Yeah. Oops.
Daisies.
Yeah, no
Stops
streaking.
are optional. Yeah.
Maybe one day though. Again, you never know.
I'll have to check that app out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Streaks.
I like Insight Timer though. I use Insight Timer a lot.
That's good.
if you could go backwards and give your newly sober self, you now, not somebody else,
Okay.
one piece of advice. Of course, I don't know if you would listen to you, but but what would it be? Like what would you tell yourself that maybe got you all anxious, but you realize now in hindsight wasn't that big of a deal?
That's a good question. I think it would just be like, your needs are always going to be met. Chill out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think I was always so worried about the future. Like, we worry about things. We make these stories up in our head, right? If something happens, or somebody looks at us funny, we start to make these stories in our head that become so big, and isn't even what happens, right? And so it's just like I've learned to not overreact anymore, but really not to panic, not to worry, because my whole life everything has worked out. It's been some really crappy times, but it's worked out.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really
Mm-hmm.
good advice. Do you have a favorite nonprofit that's like a really important cause for you? Doesn't have to be recovery based, but of course, if it is, bonus points.
I do. So I met up with a gentleman named Bowden from Touched by Addiction,
Uh huh.
and they are a nonprofit in Canada. All young guys that went through Teen Challenge, and they actually met some of them in Teen Challenge and thought, why don't we help other people get into recovery? And so they started this nonprofit, and they asked me to be a part of it recently. And so, I kind of help them. I'm kind of the team coach a little bit, but I love, they sell apparel, and with the summit, we're raising money to get people into Teen Challenge. But yeah, they have such big hearts. They're young guys, they're fun, and I just love what they're doing.
So is it Teen
Teen,
Challenge?
yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Well, and I have added them in our nonprofit section on the Sober Curator.
yeah.
But this is a really great segue to talk about your summit. Now, by the time this comes out, the summit will probably have already happened, but the content will still be available.
Yeah.
So, could you tell us a little bit about what you're up to with the summit?
Absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I had this vision because I started to go online. I started my podcast, and I was talking to all these sober people, and I had discovered my purpose around then, just before then. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to get a bunch of friends together to share their story and not focus on the past necessarily, but more focus on rising beyond recovery? Because I told you about that complacency that I hit in my
Yep.
recovery around the fifth, sixth year. So then after that, I'm like, okay, there's got to be something more. And I realized that my past was a gift. And I think that, and this, when we're in our addiction, we're resourceful, we're resilient. Like, we have all the skills that we need to do amazing things. We're amazing people. It's not like we get sober and then also we don't have these skills. I mean, if somebody would have told you, no, you can't have a drink, would you have said, I'll come back tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right? No, you wouldn't have.
No.
And so I just thought it would be really cool to start highlighting the amazing things that people in recovery are doing to inspire other people to not say not relapse, but to help them not have to make relapse a part of their story. Because I could
Right.
have very easily gone back out because I was
Yeah.
not doing what I was doing in the beginning. And so that is kind of the motivation for it, is I want to inspire people to do more with their lives, because I've been given this gift and I want to pass that on. So there's 36 speakers. Yeah.
That's a lot of speakers, and you interviewed every single one of them yourself,
Every single one of them.
and approximately half an hour to an hour. So that's a good chunk of time, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure was. But it was inspiring for me too, right? Because when you hear someone's story, but then you also hear what they've done with their lives, you
Mhm.
get this warm, fuzzy feeling, right? I
Yeah.
interviewed you.
You did. We had so much fun. I was like, let's be best friends.
I know. So
Let's do all the things, because we're like kind of exactly the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How fun. I can't wait to check out the other speakers. I have no recollection of what I said to you, but I'm sure most of it was true. but I'm really excited. You have a really good variety. And, you know, I do think that it's like, yeah, you know, I was always taught the newcomer is the most important person, the person with 1 day, the person with 7 days. And I fully believe that. But, you know, we also need to pay attention to the people that are in it, you know, because life does still happen and we have to deal with it on life's terms.
Yeah.
But yes, around the 4 or 5 year mark, I didn't want to drink, but I didn't want to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of it was complacency, but part of it was I wasn't really being honest with myself about a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, around the 10 year mark, I had like big life upheaval. And so, and that'll happen at some point. It'll happen to everybody because that's just part of being human and growing older, right? But how we deal with those things, and we need to talk about that because people do go out they go out at all ranges. I've heard of people going out at 5 years, at 10 years, at 20 years. Like that's the deal, is we really do only have the 1 day at a time, right?
Exactly.
We really do.
Yeah.
But, and it's, you know, as much as I will always get something out of someone's story who's new, I also get a lot out of people that are in it and just being honest about how they're struggling or winning. I want to hear the wins too. Like, we are pretty awesome people when you think about how resourceful and like how we can do anything if we're properly motivated or improperly motivated. Doesn't really matter.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people in recovery, they hide that, right? There's still that shame around, oh, well, if I admit that I was an alcoholic, like there's something bad associated, because there's a stigma, right? Whether we like it or not. And it's trying to break that and say, no, like these are amazing people. Like I always believe that people are capable of so much more than they think. And when I work with people, and it's the same thing when you're working with a newcomer and you see that light bulb go on in their eyes where they're like, oh, maybe I can get sober, right? It's like, but that's why I changed the podcast over, because it's like, okay, you're sober, but now what? What are you going to do with this opportunity that you've been given?
Yeah, because it's great. It's cool when they get their lives back, their jobs back, their kids back, their car back. Okay, cool. And then what happens?
Yeah.
Like, you can have anything you want when you're sober. You can do literally anything. Yep. But it's hard because we do have these tapes that tell us the opposite of that. Yep. And then especially, you know, as women, you know, dealing with all the regular imposter syndrome. Like that's, for me, that is regular.
Yeah.
Even after all these years in recovery and doing all this work on myself, it's still it's like in my face daily.
Yeah. I still struggle with the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to take a minute to stop and turn around and see how far we've come.
Yeah.
Right? It's that chill.
Yeah. Just chill. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I agree. Do you have a favorite guilty pleasure? Something that you just love, but you know somebody might like judge you or make fun of you for it, but you don't care. You love it.
I love chicken strips.
Chicken strips. Okay, I've gotten a lot of different answers with this question, but I've never had anyone said chicken strips. That's amazing.
I could eat chicken strips with Chipotle mayo every single day.
Oh, Chipotle mayo. Yeah.
I love it. I just like it's I don't know, I had them tonight actually. I confess. I'm toning down on my chicken strip consumption, but I actually probably a few months ago, I had an emotional breakdown, and at like 10 o'clock at night, I went and cooked up a batch and binged out on chicken strips because I love them so much.
Yeah.
Like the crispy coating. I have to get the big thick ones though. They can't be the little cheap ones.
No. Yeah. No. Let's bring on the real meat. Yeah. Exactly. Bring it on.
Big.
Yeah.
Sustenance.
Oh God, I love that. Yeah. I love that so much. Chicken strips and a Diet Coke.
Yep.
Solve all the world's problems.
Yep.
Okay, one of the things that I love focusing on at the Sober Curator is pop culture. And I mean, pop culture can mean different things to different people, but to me, it's just iconic moments that stand out in the history of our lives. And for me, a lot of them deal with the 80s and the 90s. I have a lot of fond memory of childhood. But, you know, there's a lot of, even though I was blasted for most of my the 2000s, still a lot of great pop culture moments. Example, Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake, denim on denim tuxedo matching outfit. that was a moment in time for me that I'm never going to forget. I love that. I would love to be that couple and dress in that outfit. So do you have like an iconic pop culture moment? Doesn't have to be with a celebrity, but something, I don't know, that you just like, that was a moment.
I I don't know because I mean, I was a child of the 80s as well. I loved 80s. I mean, I remember going to the bar when it was 80s night, like I would just
Yeah.
Running Man, I would bust it out. My friends would be on the floor laughing. Oh, totally. But yeah, as for, I mean, I don't know. That's a hard question.
Okay. What was your favorite movie as a kid?
As a young kid,
Yeah.
The Never Ending Story and Goonies.
Okay. Okay. Goonies. Okay. Goonies. Goonies I've seen over 100 times.
I know I love Goonies.
And I'm now, I'm not trying to flex or brag, but I am. I once met Shawn Austin. He came to the TV station that I work at because he was on a press tour for, I don't know, I think whatever season of Stranger Things. I don't know which one. Anyway, so I was in the audience because like he was the one. Teen Beat magazine, you remember those? I
Yes,
had
I
his like
do.
he was my guy. I had him up on the wall. Like that is, I was like, my guy looks like that guy, right? And anyway, he made me an honorary Goonie. Me and 20 other people. I know that it doesn't mean something, but I think it does.
I think it
I
does.
didn't get like a badge, but like it was a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Yeah.
That movie, I loved him too.
Yeah.
And I just remember the Cyndi Lauper song "Good Enough." Like,
oh yeah,
I can still sing that when they're riding down the hill in the
Good
bike.
enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been to Astoria and been to the house and to the Rock and to those places?
I've been to Astoria, but no, I've not been to the house.
Okay, well, obviously you'll come down from Canada and we
Yeah.
will go on a road trip together in my Jeep. We'll take the top off. It'll be wild.
I'm in.
And we will stay down there. We'll actually stay, I think we'll stay a little further down the Oregon coast, but we'll go through Astoria and I'll take you to the house. It also happens to be just a few blocks away from the school from Kindergarten Cop. Just saying. Twofer.
Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. And Never Ending Story. Yes. I have two Boston Terriers, and my bigger one, my big chubby one, kind of resembles Never Ending Story dog to me. Like,
yeah, that's a traumatizing movie too, though. Like
it's
when the
terrifying.
horse dies, I was like
Terrifying.
crying.
Yeah, terrifying.
I still remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. What about, okay, so that we talked movies. What about TV shows of your childhood? Did you have a favorite?
Oh, that is a really good question. I think because I drank so much in my teens, it kind of blurted out that part of my life.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm terrible at remembering like names and shows, like the names of shows. I mean, I was a big Friends fan, but that was more kind of the
a little later. That was that was
later.
late 90s. That was
Yeah.
late 90s.
Yeah.
What about Facts of Life?
Yes, Tootie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tootie.
She's my fave.
Tootie,
Yeah,
different
Blair.
strokes.
Yep.
Blair. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. See, you just have to name a few different
Yeah.
strokes. I
Then
could
you
still
get there.
sing that.
Yeah. Different strokes. Yeah. Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I were separated at birth, I think. I think so. Maybe you're the Canadian version of me and I'm the American version of you.
Like doppelgangers almost.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I could cut my hair and it would I grew out my bangs, so I could go get a bob and it would be, I mean, I don't know, we could probably pull it off sisters.
Yeah, or I can tie my hair back. I mean,
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I basically never do my hair, so yeah.
We'll pull it off.
Do you have a favorite sober celebrity or musician that you're just like so dreamy, or they're just great, or
Oh, I do. And of course now I'm drawing
the
a
name
blank.
is escaping you?
He's been up here actually in recovery. He was in Mad Max. What the heck is his name? Oh, Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy?
Is it Tom Hardy? I just saw a post of him.
Now
today.
I just have to Mad Max.
Is it? This
actor.
is
Let me
gonna
just look.
drive me crazy.
Hugh Kane's Burn? No.
Yeah, Tom Hardy.
Oh, yep. Yeah, it's pretty. I didn't
He's
know he was. I didn't know he was sober.
he's been sober longer, like over half his life, I think.
Oh, that's a long time. Did
Yeah.
you know there's a club for people that have been sober for half the amount of their life? There's like some special club. I just learned about this like a week or two ago. I was interviewing this guy who travels the world. He didn't start doing this till he was 23, so 23 years sober, but he travels the world to get to know people in Alcoholics Anonymous all over the world. So he's not writing books. It has nothing to do with Alcoholics Anonymous. He's just writing about the people in AA all over the world and how this one program works in all these different places. And he's got 8 different coffee table books. So I interviewed him for one of them that I found from some weird Google search, because like Googling is my cardio, let's be clear. And he told me about this 50% club or something. It's where you're alive, however long you're alive, 50% or more years you've been sober. It's going to take me a while to get to that point.
I know, I gotta still wait 13 years.
I know. I was thinking, so because I'm going to be 16 in like a month,
Uh-huh.
and 16 is when I started drinking. So like in theory, I'm about to go into a period of time, which is the longest I've ever been sober consistently, because I didn't
Yeah.
drink or use before I was 16.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why I spend time thinking about this stuff.
I would go with that.
It's just, yeah.
Because you want in.
Nothing like recovery math.
It's FOMO.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you have a podcast. So what other podcasts do you listen to that you just can't get enough of? Doesn't have to be recovery. If you listen to true crime, I want to hear all about it.
I I used to listen to podcasts about podcasting to grow my
Okay.
podcast. So Podcasting Business School, my podcast coach actually, he does that one, which is really good. And right now I'm actually listening to Dan Thomas has a really good one within his Social Boom group. And
Okay.
it's all about just being your authentic self, right? And how you show up on social media. And so I'm really enjoying that one only because of the journey I'm on. I always try to listen to podcasts that I can relate to what I'm doing at the time.
Yeah.
And because my whole mission is to be vulnerable and honest and just share my journey, like the good, the bad, the ugly of it.
Yeah.
I find that that's really helping me show up in a way that's just authentic with myself on social media. So, yeah. Other than that, I got to be honest. I mean, I love podcasting, obviously. I do it. I listen to the Mindful Binge. I think
Oh,
that
well, thanks. Bonus
amazing.
points.
Love the debating. But yeah, there's not a ton of other podcasts I listen to regularly anymore.
I was a late bloomer in the land of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
There were people all around me that were watching, like, or doing a lot of true crime. And I was like, I don't know. But I was, and anybody that was talking about self-help, I was like, no, thank you. I've got enough of that. Right. Which probably says something about how I was doing at that time of my life. But, so I was late to it, but then I got to true crime first, and that hooked me in. And then I started to branch into more recovery podcasts. I was really backwards with it. So, I just love hearing other people share what they're listening to, because I'm like, maybe I need to go listen to that.
Yeah, I would like to listen to more because I'm kind of like I'm squirrel shiny object person, right? So I do it with books too. I'll start reading a really good book, and then someone's like, have you read this book? And I download it to my Kindle and I'm reading it that night.
Right.
So I do the same thing with podcasts where I don't allow myself to get into it 100%.
Well, I know, because I have to be just a little bit in everything.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want to miss out. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a content addiction, I think. Just any content. TV shows, movies, podcasts, books, magazines. Mm-hmm. I just constantly want to be fed content. I want to eat content for lunch.
Me too.
You know what I want?
What?
Content strips, like chicken strips, but for content. I feel like there's something in there that's going to develop. I don't know what it
I
is,
think
but
so.
mhm,
Uh-huh. Content
yeah,
strips.
content strips. I mean, I
Which
get it and you get it. We'd have to explain it to everybody else, but I don't know. It
it's
makes sense.
genius. Genius.
I want them, whatever they are.
Uh-huh.
So, what else is on your playlist? Do you have any musicians, playlist, genre that you're just like, this is my jam?
I've actually gone back to remember Evanescence?
Oh, yeah.
I have gone back to them, listening to a lot of
Oh,
that stuff. Yeah, because it's just when I've been working out again, so I've been listening to them. I actually dove into a little Linkin Park the other day because I was like,
ooh, go on.
I've always loved Linkin Park. I think I went through a Linkin Park phase when I got divorced, and so sometimes that's just really good. And then I'm the only music I don't like is country. I have a real hard time with country. Um, but I like everything else. Like Coldplay is one of my favorite bands. Oh, here's one. I was scrolling along on Facebook the other day. Our Lady Peace is coming back. I'm madly in love with Rain Maida. Madly in love with him.
Okay, I would go to that concert with you.
Yeah, okay. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
June
Yep.
9th. But yeah,
Why
I
not?
really I love that time, like the 90s when,
Mm-hmm.
I saw Nirvana, I saw Stone Temple Pilots a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
times, like
Pearl
that.
Jam.
Yeah, when I wrote my first book, that actually Pearl Jam, was it the first one?
Yeah.
First album? Yeah. That is the first album I got loaded to. And so when I wrote my first book and I needed to come up with the memories, that's what I listened to.
Kind of amazing.
It is.
Well,
Yeah.
several of those guys are sober too. So,
I saw them once, half the concert. I don't remember the other half. But
ugh,
from what I saw, they were amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I was at a Tupac concert once. Don't remember. I know. It's an impressive story. If I remembered the rest of the night, it would be impressive. I remember that there was a guy that I met, and I became more enamored with him than the concert, and I really missed out on that.
I did that too. Do you know what really got me fired up actually watching the Super Bowl? And
Oh,
like
so
that
good.
brought me back. I was
Super Bowl 2022, iconic.
yeah,
It's what we needed after a global pandemic. It was, mwah.
I agree. So I started listening to that again because yeah, that was such yeah.
Eminem. I just
Mhm.
love him. Yep.
Mhm.
Good. It's good. Okay. Okay, we talked about what you're watching as far as and just like that and some other things on TV, but do you have a movie or TV series? We talked about Mom that has addiction in it that is like your favorite. So kind of like the Goonies, but of addiction. I'm really on a roll tonight.
I'm sure I do. I just can't think of the name right now,
All
honestly.
right.
Like there
Then
was
I want you to get back to me because if
I'm
it
going
hasn't
to.
already been reviewed on the Sober Curator, I'm going to want you to do that review.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I there is because I love watching movies on addiction. Like
Yeah.
and shows on addiction. I just am not good with names, so I'm gonna get back to you on that.
So I will ask, how do you feel about Sandra Bullock 28 Days? It's a classic,
I
iconic.
I love the movie.
Did you, we weren't friends a year ago, Tamar, so you probably haven't seen the fact that I made a Peeps diorama reenactment of 28 Days.
You
Yeah,
did.
I made a treatment center out of Peeps. I sure did. And I'm going to send you the video. Yeah.
You better.
Yeah, as soon
Yeah.
as we're done doing this. Also, just before we stop talking about music entirely, one of your sober curator you haven't met yet, Ashley, she just started doing this weekly feature called Sober Sweat. It's the pump to get you over the hump. And this week she put together her favorite sober workout playlist of 92 songs. And I put it together in a Spotify playlist, so you can go check it out. And I bet you're gonna like what you see. Now I say that, and I am going to be very clear with you. There is a little bit of country in there. That's the one thing you and I are going to have to agree to disagree.
Yep.
We are the same in every other aspect, I think, so far. but I do love myself some country, and there is some country in there.
I'll forgive you for that.
Okay, thanks. All right. Okay, we talked a little bit about prayer and meditation, but do you want to like maybe dig into that a bit more on what that looks like to you and how you've grown in that way in recovery?
Yeah, when I came in, I was I'm not doing the God thing. God's never been there for me. And when someone said, "Listen, come up with your own conception of a higher power," and so I thought, well, that I can do, right? So I wrote it out, and I started doing the actions, and you know, uh, things started to happen that I was like, okay, this is not a coincidence, right? I started just taking the actions, and I think since that time, I had a very profound spiritual experience, which I won't get into now, where I was like, wow, like this just does not happen. And it gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it. But today, like every morning, I'll do my prayer, right? And ask for guidance. And then I listen through meditation. I do that every morning, regardless. And I always hear from people I talk to the answers. Like, it's like, were you in my bed this morning while I was praying? Like, do you have my house bugged? So I just know, like, no matter how hard things get, and you mentioned the 10-year mark where everything falls apart. My last 10 years, I felt like everything has fallen apart, but it's been the best year of my sobriety.
Funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The best stuff comes out of the worst stuff.
Yep.
It just does. Oh, I get a little choked up about that. Okay. No tears here today. Sober vacations. You just had one. Let's talk about sober travel. Where did you just go?
I went to Cancun, Mexico.
Oh, so fun.
Just the sun, like as soon as I walked out of the airport and there was the warm, I love the heat. Like I'm a tank top, shorts, and flip flops girl all year round. And being able to go.
So how do you live in Vancouver, Canada?
Oh, I've got shorts. Well, actually, I'm naked right now, but.
Oh yeah, we already decided no pants, no pants.
I'm always wearing shorts and flip flops every day. But I'm totally a summer girl. I love the sun, and I can't even imagine. I never had the money to go to anywhere all inclusive when I drank.
Sure.
My brain can't even fathom being somewhere for 7 days and having all the alcohol I can drink. Like, it just doesn't register in my head because I know it would be a blackout. And so for me to go to a place like that and actually like look at that blue ocean and just like how beautiful the beach is, it's like such a sense of gratitude. And I watch all the drunk people because there was many this time. And I ordered, my mango virgin mojitos, my mango smoothies. Like, I enjoyed every sip of it. And the fact that, most of those people are probably not going to remember most of their trip. I am. It's fun. Like, sober travel is a blast. And we we hit up recovery sometimes when we go there. My partner and I will hit up a meeting. Yeah.
You know why? Because people are sober everywhere, and you immediately, it doesn't matter where you are, as soon as you meet someone else who you realize you share that in common, the world opens up. You can immediately talk about anything.
Yep.
Nothing really, honestly, nothing is off limits.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. So I love traveling.
Yeah. That's so great. Do you have any other places that you've traveled?
I went to Holland.
Mm-hmm.
I was born there, actually. Spain. I've traveled all around North America. I used to travel for business, but actually going and hitting up a meeting in Holland when I was 6 months sober, wild? Crazy, because it was an English speaking meeting, and that was my first time sharing, and ever, and I was like terrified. But a guy after came up to me and said, "You know what? I'm so glad you shared what you did tonight." Because I was planning on going out and drinking. And so you can imagine for someone who's 6 months old hearing that. And he goes, "Can I give you a hug?" And I was just like, I wanted to start crying because I'm like, I've never said anything before, right? And I was just sharing my experience so far. And yeah, it's cool to be sober because you can go anywhere in the world and people embrace you like, come on in. come in. You're part of us.
Yeah. But yeah, without question.
Yeah.
And I think the even wilder part is, and I know that you're like this because you've already demonstrated to me many times, is we also show up without a blink of an eye. It's not a question to me. If somebody comes to me, can you? That's all I have to hear. My answer is yes.
Yep.
I can figure that out. Or, you know, or, well, I can, but this is what it's going to have to look like, you know? Because I was also taught that, you know, we need to always be there, but we is not me, it's we, and it might not always be me. I had to learn that.
Yeah.
I had to learn that. But there's so much freedom in learning that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I did go to Ibiza, by the way. Where I didn't take a pill in Ibiza.
You did not?
I did not.
Wow.
Yeah. It's $20 for a virgin mango smoothie.
Yeah. Worth it.
Worth it.
Yeah. I do kind of think we need to make you a t-shirt that says, I did not take a pill in Ibiza.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I would like that. I would wear that daily.
I would wear that, and I would eat content strips. That's what I would do with a Diet Coke.
Mayo.
Yeah, well, there's our first photo shoot. It's going to be amazing. Well, that's it. Those are my questions. I love that you have taken time to share just fun things with me about recovery, because sometimes we don't always get into these kind of little details, but they are what make us who we are. And now that I know we both share a love of the Goonies, a never ending story, it's like I have this closest with you that it's just a new level of understanding.
Road trip.
With
strips, content strips, and t-shirts. Yeah. With
t-shirts, and we've got the playlist, and we've got podcasts to listen to. We're very busy.
We can ride the bike down the hill. With Cyndi Lauper.
It's good enough. See what I did there?
Yeah.
On that note, thank you very much. And I will put all of the information on where to find you in the notes of this video, which will be located on the Sober Curator, where you will now have content in the future, but we haven't decided what that is yet, but I know you're making a list.
It's coming.
So you'll have to if you're watching this, you'll have to check back or listening to this and see what she comes up with, because I'm sure it's going to be great. Little teaser, another new Sober Curator, Amy Liz Harrison, has a book coming out later this month called Eternally Awkward. And it's about being diagnosed with ADHD midlife, and being a child of the 80s, back when girls weren't being diagnosed with ADHD in the 80s, and what that's like now. And oh, by the way, she's 10 years sober. And oh, by the way, she has 8 kids. So she's going to start a column that mimics the name of the book, Eternally Awkward. And we're going to ask readers to send us their stories about awkward moments they've had in sobriety.
So good.
Because you have a lot of those.
Yeah.
And those are hard sometimes because the whole sober thing. Because you just really feel all the things. We feel all the good stuff, but unfortunately we do feel the other stuff too, which is sometimes a lot. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for whatever your column is going to be. I'm excited to see how this community is coming together, and we're all carving out little pieces of content that then holistically as a group kind of make this catch-all for this is what a sober lifestyle can look like. And you don't have to be into all of it, but there's just a little bit here, like a smorgasbord of the joy.
It's epic.
Again, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Whatever it's going to be.
It's amazing. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, we will see you soon.